Did you know that over 20 popular cars, some of them absolute legends, are now completely banned in Canada? That's right. Whether it's because of emissions, safety concerns, or technicalities in import laws, these once loved models are now blacklisted. And we're not just talking about obscure foreign vehicles. You might even find your dream car, or worse, your current ride, on this list. Imagine spending years saving up for that perfect car, maybe a classic Nissan Skyline, a turbocharged JDM Icon, or a head-turning Hummer H1 Alpha, only to find out you can't legally import, drive, or even register it anymore. No warning, no workaround, just flat out illegal. It feels like the rules changed overnight, and the auto world wasn't ready. So why is this happening? And what exactly did these cars do to deserve the ban hammer? Stick around, because the answers are surprising and the list is even more shocking. Number 1. They pollute too much. One of the biggest reasons these cars are being banned across Canada is simple. They're dirty. And we don't mean dusty interiors, we're talking about carbon-belching, smog-spitting, air-choking emissions that no longer meet Canada's strict environmental regulations. As the government pushes for net zero emissions by 2035, vehicles that guzzle gas and spew pollutants have become public enemy number one. Take the Nissan Skyline R34 GTR, a car worshipped by gearheads and street racers alike. Its performance is legendary, but it was never built with Canada's emission standards in mind. Same goes for older diesel trucks and modified muscle cars. Many of these engines were created before modern catalytic converters, fuel management systems, or low-emission technology became the norm. In fact, studies show that a single outdated performance car can produce as much pollution as 30 modern vehicles combined. That's not just inefficient, it's dangerous to public health. Canada's Environmental Protection Act has evolved in recent years, tightening restrictions and closing loopholes that once allowed these cars to slip through. Even provincial governments are taking action, especially in British Columbia and Quebec, where air quality concerns are driving enforcement harder than ever. The sad part? Some of these cars were never officially tested for Canadian roads. That means they don't even get a chance to clean up their act. They're automatically banned on suspicion alone. So if your car burns more fuel than a small airplane and leaves a black cloud behind it every light, it might just be on the government's hit list. We pour our heart into every video to bring you real stories like this. So if you learned something new today, drop a comment telling us which banned car shocked you the most. And hey, subscribing is just one click, but it means everything to us. Number 2. Not safe enough. Speed, style, and nostalgia might win hearts, but they won't save lives. Another major reason Canada is banning certain cars is because they simply don't meet today's safety standards. From missing airbags to outdated crash protection, many of these vehicles weren't designed with North American safety in mind, and that makes them a liability on Canadian roads. A prime example? The legendary Mazda RX-7 FD3S. Its lightweight, aerodynamic body is perfect for performance, but offers very little protection in a serious accident. The same goes for early JDM imports, like the Toyota Chaser JZX100 or the Honda Beat, which were engineered for Japanese traffic and regulations, not for the icy roads, wild weather, and high-speed highways of Canada. And let's not forget, safety tech has evolved fast. Cars today are loaded with stability control systems, reinforced frames, smart airbags, collision warnings, and even pedestrian detection. Many banned models, unfortunately, don't have any of this. According to Transport Canada, vehicles lacking core safety features like side impact protection or anti-lock brakes pose a much higher risk of serious injury or death in the event of a crash. It's not just about protecting the driver either, it's about everyone else on the road. That's why cars without approved crash test results or with missing documentation on safety compliance are now being flagged and rejected outright. In other words, if a car can't prove it's safe by today's standards, it's not going to get a green light in Canada. So while some of these banned rides may look cool and feel thrilling behind the wheel, they're also rolling risks, and the law is not taking chances. We dig deep to uncover stories like these, and it means the world if you share your thoughts. Which banned car would you bring back if you could? And hey, subscribing is free. but your support helps keep this channel alive. Number 3. Right-hand drive. There's something undeniably exotic about a right-hand drive car. Maybe it's the JDM street cred, or the feeling of driving something rare and different. But in Canada, that cool factor comes with serious consequences, enough to get these vehicles banned in several provinces. RHD cars were built for countries like Japan, the UK, and Australia, where people drive on the left side of the road. In Canada, where we drive on the right, this creates a dangerous mismatch. Think about it. Turning left at a busy intersection, merging onto a highway, or even just pulling out of a parking lot becomes a visibility nightmare. You're sitting on the wrong side of the car, trying to navigate traffic with blind spots you weren't trained for. According to multiple provincial insurance boards and traffic safety agencies, RHD vehicles are involved in significantly more at-fault collisions, especially in rural areas and high-speed zones. That's why provinces like British Columbia and Prince Edward Island have introduced restrictions or outright bans on certain RHD imports. And then there's the issue of headlight alignment, mirror placement, and pedal layouts, all tailored for the opposite side of the road. These design choices don't just feel awkward, they can be life-threatening in emergencies. Even experienced drivers have struggled with misjudged turns or blind spots they never saw coming. So while owning a rare RHD Subaru WRX STI or Toyota Supra might earn you points at a car meet, it could cost you your insurance or worse, your license. Canada's transport authorities have made it clear. If a vehicle was built for the left side of the road, it has no place on the right. If this blew your mind, tell us in the comments. Have you ever driven a right-hand drive car? Would you try it? And don't forget, subscribing is free, but it fuels every video we create. Just one click keeps us rolling. Number 4. Too modified to be legal. Everyone loves a custom car. A lowered stance, turbocharged upgrades, maybe a flame-painted hood. Modifications let you put your personality on 4 wheels. But in Canada, going too far with mods can get your car banned outright. That's right, your dream build might just be a legal nightmare. Transport Canada has strict rules when it comes to aftermarket parts, especially if they affect engine performance, suspension, lighting, or emission systems. While some light mods are allowed, heavily modified vehicles often fail to meet federal and provincial safety regulations. Think engine swaps that bypass emission controls, extreme ride height adjustments, or straight pipe exhausts that sound like a jet taking off. A good example is the once popular Toyota Supra MK4. Some imported models were tuned so aggressively that they no longer complied with Canadian standards. Cars with illegal nitrous systems, remapped ECUs, or custom steering conversions are regularly flagged during inspections or even seized at the border. And here's the real kicker. Insurance companies often refuse coverage for vehicles with undocumented or extreme modifications. That means even if you could register it, driving it is a whole different risk. In the eyes of the law, a modded car without certification is just as dangerous as a car missing its brakes. So while your custom project might be a masterpiece in the garage, on the street, it might be seen as a threat. Canada isn't against car culture, it's against builds that compromise safety, emissions, and control. Ever had to undo a mod just to pass inspection? Share your story in the comments, we read everyone. And if you love deep dives like this, hit that subscribe button. One click supports hours of research and helps us keep car culture alive. Number 5. No parts, no service. Imagine owning a rare import that turns heads everywhere you go. Until it breaks down. You pop the hood, ready to fix it, and realize the parts you need don't even exist in Canada. That's the harsh reality for many owners of now-banned vehicles. One of the less talked about but very real reasons cars are being blocked from the roads is because they've become unserviceable. Here's the thing, for a car to be road legal in Canada, it's not enough for it to run, it needs to be maintainable. If parts aren't available and if mechanics aren't trained to repair it, the car becomes a safety risk. Imagine waiting months to fix a brake issue or searching online forums for custom fabricated components just to pass inspection. That's not sustainable, and the government knows it. This issue especially hits hard for gray market imports and rare Euro or JDM models. Cars like the Volkswagen Transporter T3 Synchro or certain Alfa Romeo and Citroën models were never officially sold or supported in Canada. That means no dealer network, no official service documentation, and most importantly, no guaranteed access to parts. And once those cars reach a certain age, parts become even harder to find, often forcing owners into risky DIY fixes. Transport Canada and provincial inspection services now flag cars that don't have reliable parts supply chains. Why? Because if a critical safety component fails and there's no fix available, that car doesn't belong on the road. Ever owned a car so rare the parts had to be shipped from halfway across the world? Tell us in the comments. We love a good repair saga. And if you enjoy the real stories behind the rules, support us by hitting subscribe. It's free, but it fuels everything we do. Wrench, comment. Number 6. Gray market imports. Some of the banned cars in Canada never passed through a dealership, a registry, or even a proper customs check. Instead, they slipped in through the shadows of what's called the gray market. Vehicles imported outside official distribution channels, often with missing or falsified paperwork. It might sound clever, but for many owners, this shortcut turns into a trap. Gray market cars are usually sold from countries where vehicle standards differ drastically from Canada's. These cars might be cheaper, rarer, or just more exciting, but they also tend to lack essential documentation, like VIN validation, recall history, or proof of compliance with safety and emissions rules. That means no guarantees they're safe, legal, or roadworthy in Canadian conditions. Transport Canada has started cracking down on these vehicles. In some cases, owners who've driven their gray market car for years are suddenly receiving revocation notices. Their registrations canceled because the car's origin or compliance can't be confirmed. Popular targets include early Toyota Chasers, Honda Beats, and Mitsubishi Pajeros, many of which were brought in with minimal inspection or unverified conversions. Worse still, some gray market sellers have been caught tampering with odometers, disguising accident history, or modifying cars to look like they meet Canadian standards without actually doing so. It's not just a paperwork issue anymore. It's about trust and public safety. The bottom line? If a car can't prove where it came from, what condition it's in, or whether it meets Canadian regulations, it's not just a risky buy. It's a likely ban. Ever almost bought a gray market car or own one now? Share your experience in the comments and help others avoid the same mistakes. And if you appreciate the research behind these videos, support us with a quick subscribe. One click helps us keep facts to light. Number 7. Too loud for the law. If you've ever stood on a sidewalk and jumped at the thunderous roar of a passing car, you already know what we're talking about. Excessive vehicle noise has become a growing issue across Canada, and it's one more reason several cars, especially modded imports and muscle cars, are being banned or severely restricted. From straight piped exhaust to aftermarket mufflers that amplify every rev, some vehicles push sound levels way past legal limits. While it might feel powerful behind the wheel, to everyone else it sounds like a rolling earthquake. Provinces like Quebec, British Columbia, and Ontario have ramped up their enforcement, using decibel meters and roadside noise tests to crack down. Some owners argue it's part of car culture, a form of self-expression. But to lawmakers, it's a public nuisance and a legitimate health concern. Studies have linked excessive urban noise to sleep disorders, anxiety, and hearing damage, especially in high-traffic areas. In response, cities like Montreal and Vancouver have started issuing hefty fines, and in extreme cases, even impounding vehicles. Among the most targeted are older models of the Subaru WRX, Mustang GTs, and various JDM imports like the Mazda RX-7 or Nissan Silvia, which often come stock with louder engines or get modified for extra brow. If they exceed the provincial noise limits, they're flagged, and in some areas, permanently banned from the road. The message is clear. If your car wakes up half the block, it might not be street legal much longer. Love the roar or prefer a quiet cruise? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear where you stand in the great noise debate. And if this video taught you something new, subscribe with just one click. It keeps us going and keeps car culture real. Number 8. gas guzzlers under fire. In today's eco-conscious world, fuel efficiency isn't just a bonus, it's a requirement. With Canada pushing hard toward its climate goals, cars that burn through fuel like there's no tomorrow are now being targeted and in some cases banned outright. It's not just about saving money at the pump anymore, it's about reducing environmental impact. Take the Hummer H1 Alpha, or older V8-powered SUVs. Iconic, powerful, and unfortunately, incredibly thirsty. Some of these vehicles average less than 10 miles per gallon, making them among the worst offenders in terms of carbon footprints. And while they might still be legal in some provinces, others are putting restrictions on registering or importing these beasts. Why? Because inefficient vehicles don't just burn more fuel, they produce dramatically higher CO2 emissions, contributing to climate change, urban smog, and long-term health risks. Canada's federal fuel economy standards are now aligned with global initiatives, meaning vehicles that don't meet those standards are getting hit with hefty carbon taxes, registration restrictions, or simply being removed from eligibility lists altogether. Even some performance cars from the early 2000s, like certain models of the Chevrolet Camaro, Dodge Viper, and Ford F-Series Super Duty trucks are being scrutinized for failing to meet modern fuel economy targets. And if they've been imported or modified to increase horsepower without emissions adjustments, that's an automatic red flag. In short, if your car gulps gas like it's going out of style, it might soon be out of legal reach in Canada. Would you sacrifice performance for better mileage, or hold on to your gas guzzler no matter what? Drop your take in the comments. And if you're enjoying the ride, hit that subscribe button. One click powers all the research we do behind the scenes. Number 9. Dangerous recall histories. Sometimes a car isn't banned for what it looks like or how it drives, but for something buried deep in its history. Many of the vehicles now banned in Canada have been involved in major global recalls, and their track record of failure has made them too risky to allow on the road. One infamous case is the Takata airbag scandal, which affected millions of cars across multiple brands, including Honda, Mazda, BMW, and Toyota. These airbags were prone to exploding on impact, sending metal shrapnel flying through the cabin. Several fatalities worldwide pushed safety regulators to take swift action. Cars with unresolved Takata-related recalls, or with no way to verify if repairs were ever made, are being denied registration across Canada. But it's not just airbags. Some models have been flagged for brake failure, steering malfunctions, fuel line leaks, or electrical fires. The problem? Many of these cars, especially gray market or imported vehicles, either slipped through recall systems or were modified in a way that made them ineligible for manufacturer-supported fixes. Transport Canada now works closely with automakers to track VINs and prevent vehicles with unresolved recalls from being legally imported or registered. It's a precaution that makes sense because no matter how cool or rare a car is, it's not worth the risk if it's a ticking time bomb under the hood. So before falling in love with that hard-to-find import or classic gem, it's worth asking, what's hiding in its past? Have you ever owned a car that got hit with a major recall? Drop your story below. We're building a wall of cautionary tales. And if this video opened your eyes, subscribe with just one click. It powers the hours we spend uncovering the truth. Number 10. Loophole abuse. For years, Canadian car enthusiasts used the 15-year import rule as a golden ticket. It allowed people to legally bring in vehicles not originally sold in Canada, as long as they were at least 15 years old. This opened the door to legendary models like the Nissan Silvia S15, Toyota Chaser, and Mazda RX-7, creating a booming import scene. But like all good things, it didn't take long for the loophole to be pushed too far. What started as a clever workaround quickly became a regulatory nightmare. Some importers began tweaking documents, misrepresenting build dates, or rushing vehicles in just before the deadline without proper inspection. Others modified newer models to appear older on paper, skirting around safety and emissions requirements entirely. The result? A wave of unverified, poorly maintained, and unsafe vehicles flooded the Canadian market, many of which wouldn't have passed standard safety checks if they were subject to full scrutiny. Transport Canada has since started clamping down hard. Cars brought in under the 15-year rule are now more closely inspected, and some are being retroactively banned or denied registration if there's evidence the rule was misused. This means that even if your car made it in years ago, it could still be flagged today. What once felt like a legal win now comes with risk and uncertainty. If you're planning to import a vehicle using the 15-year rule, make sure it's done by the book, because the margin for error has all but disappeared. Ever tried navigating the 15-year rule yourself? Was it smooth or a total mess? Share your story in the comments. We want to hear it. And if you've made it this far, we must be doing something right. Subscribe with just one click and support the work that brings stories like this to light. Box Car. As we've seen, the cars being banned in Canada aren't just random choices. They represent a changing era in automotive culture. From high-emission classics to unsafe imports, each banned vehicle tells a story about how our country is evolving to prioritize safety, sustainability, and accountability on the road. For some enthusiasts, these restrictions feel like the end of an era, closing the door on iconic cars that shaped generations. But for lawmakers and safety experts, it's a necessary step toward protecting both people and the planet. Whether it's noise pollution, fuel inefficiency, lack of part support, or manipulated import loopholes, every banned car falls into one of the categories we covered today, and each one reflects a bigger issue. But here's the truth. You can still be a car lover and respect the law. The passion doesn't have to die, it just has to evolve. There's still plenty of amazing cars that meet modern standards and still give you the performance, personality, and pride you're looking for. So if you're planning to import, modify, or even just buy a rare vehicle in Canada, do your research. Check Transport Canada's database, read the regulations, and make sure your dream car won't turn into a legal nightmare. The auto world is changing, and staying informed is the best way to stay ahead of the curve.